Okay, this last part is probably the hardest part of the whole thing. We need to figure out what is the angle of the resultant, and we need to find it from north. So let's go ahead and change some of these things here a little bit so we don't have a resultant of 0. Let's go ahead and put in all of our stuff, all 5 vectors. Okay. All right, so in the end, we have our overall I hat and j hat. Okay. Right now it happens to be positive and positive because the resultant is in the upper right quadrant going up to the right here. Okay, so let's think about this a little bit. Let's try to do a little bit drawing here. All right, let's say, so I have a grid, and I know what my I hat and j hat is. So it could be, there's 4 possibilities. It could be a positive I hat, right? And if I have a vector that comes up like this, okay, it could be a positive j hat and a positive I hat. If I have a vector coming down like this, then my j hat would be negative, right? This is positive and positive. My j hat would be negative, and I'd have a positive I hat. If it was coming down like this, I would have a negative I hat and a negative j hat. And it was coming up like this, I'd have a positive j hat and a negative I hat. So if I put my I hat first and then my j hat, because it's like xy, then up here it's going to be a positive positive. Down here it's going to be a positive negative. Here it's going to be a negative negative. And here it's going to be a negative positive. Okay. All right, so how do I find the angle? Well, for all of these angles in here, okay, I could take the tangent of the angle would equal I hat over j hat. So that means I could take the inverse tangent of I hat over j hat. So the inverse tangent, and the way we do this in Excel is called arctan, so a tan of your I hat over your j hat, okay, would give you your angle. Now remember, Excel will give you that angle in radians, so then we'll have to put it into degrees. So let's we'll come back to that in a second. Let's come back to our Excel thing here, and we find let's come down here and do angle. How do we get our angle? Okay, so I want to do equals a tan of my I hat divided by my j hat, my final I hat, and my resultant my sum of my I hat and my sum of my j hat. Okay, and now remember that's going to give it in radians, so we want to turn it back into degrees. So what we want to do here probably is do equals degrees. Whoop, too many e's. Degrees of the a tan, because that'll put it back into degrees for us, because we want this in degrees. So I click return, and hopefully that's right. Let's see. So can I shrink it down here? So there is the degrees. Okay. So it's 24.5 degrees. Okay, now the problem is I need the angle from north. Okay, so when we do this, when we did this right down here, this formula down here, that gave me either this angle or this angle or this angle or this angle. Okay, so that's not giving me it from north. Okay, now you'll notice that if we're up in this quadrant up here, it's positive, positive. So when I got my angle, I would get a positive angle. Okay? So if I hat and j hat are both positive, then the answer I figured out just now is right. Okay? It'd be right. But what if we're down here in this quadrant and my I hat is positive and my j hat is negative? Well, when I get my angle, I will actually get a negative angle, right? Because I have a negative and a positive I'm dividing here, so I'd have a negative angle. And of course, that wouldn't be from north. I need to come from north all the way down to here. So how would I do that? Well, if I get a negative angle, basically that would be this angle here coming back from the 180. So it'd be minus from the 180. So all I would need to do is to realize if I have a positive I hat and a negative j hat, then I'm going to do 180 plus the angle. Okay, now keep in mind the angle is negative, so it'd be a plus a minus theta. Okay? Okay, what if they're both negative? Down here in this quadrant, they're both negative. That means my angle will end up being a positive value, right? Negative divided by negative will be a positive value. But how do I get my angle from north? I'd have to go all the way around to here. So on this one, if they're both negative, I'm also going to do 180 plus the angle. In this case, the angle is positive, so it actually would be bigger than 180. This side over here, the angle's negative, so when I add it to 180, it'll actually be a little less than 180. What if we're up here in this quadrant, it's negative and a positive? That means my angle is going to be negative, okay? And how do I figure out what it is all the way around from here? Well, on this one, I could take 360 plus my angle, because my angle is actually going to be negative. It would actually be taking 360 and subtracting this angle back, and then I would have my entire angle. Okay? So what this means is we have a very, very nasty if-and statement. If-and. What I mean by that is if I hat is positive and j hat is positive, then you'll just print the angle. If I hat is positive and j hat is negative, then you'll print that. If I hat is negative and j hat is negative, you'll print that. If I hat is negative and j hat is positive, you'll print that. So this is bad. This is the worst part of the vector program. So let's see if I can do it or not. Okay, so we'll come back up to our Excel. Okay, and so there's my angle right there. Okay, and what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at this I hat and this j hat. So if they're both positive, then I'll just print that angle. Okay, and if they're different situations, I'll have to do different things. So I'll come here and we'll start in. So this is going to be tough. Okay, equals if, and then you do a parentheses, and then you do a parentheses, and you put your two logical tests, or however many logical tests you have, in here separated by commas. So the first thing I want to do is let's see if it's in the first quadrant. So I'm going to do if and I'm going to come here and get the I hat. Okay, is I want to see if they're both positive. So I'm going to test if it's greater than, and not just greater than. Let's do greater than or equal. Okay, so if it happens to be like right on the line, then we'll be okay also. So if this is greater than or equal to 0, whoops, 0, okay, and then comma, because I want to do another one, and this one is greater than or equal to 0. Then I put that and close that in parentheses. So it's doing if and. So if both of these are true, then we're going to do comma, and we're going to go ahead and print the angle. That's what we'll want, okay? Because that'll be correct. Comma. Okay, then I start another if. So really what I could do is, I think I could just get this and copy, I hope, and then yeah, and then print that again. And we're gonna need 4 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm gonna come back in here and change some stuff. So the first one's good. Okay, so now let's go to the bottom right quadrant. So my I hat would still be positive. Okay. My J hat, though, would be negative. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to turn that sign around, less than or equal to 0. And if that's the case, then you remember I will have to actually take 180 plus the angle, because that angle is going to end up being negative. So I want to subtract back from 180. Okay, and then now I'm the bottom left quadrant, so they're what? They're both negative there. So I'm going to take this and turn them both around. You'll have to really study this. This is super complicated. And again, I'm going to add 180 to it. Okay. Now that's different than this over here, because technically, if it's in the bottom right quadrant, then this is going to be positive and negative, right? So that my angle is going to be negative. So I'm technically subtracting the angle from 180. But here, if they're both in the bottom left quadrant, they're both going to be negative. My angle is going to be actually positive, and I'm actually adding it on to 180. Hope you see the difference there. The last one is in the upper left quadrant. So if and, let's see, I hat then would be negative, and the J hat would be positive. And so I'm going to do 360 plus the angle, because the angle would actually be negative, so I'll be subtracting it back from 360, really. Okay. Let's see. Now what do I do? I think I just need to close it up with probably a whole bunch of print these. I don't know. I'm going to hit return. See if it tells me. Okay, I'm just going to accept this correction. Hope it's right. Okay. So, okay, well, it's right now. Let's see. Let's shrink this down here. Okay, so I got an angle. So I know right now that my resultant vector is up in the right quadrant, so it's plus plus. So it should be printing out the exact thing. Okay, let's try to change this so that it is in some other quadrant. Let's see if I change that direction of one of these vectors, if it'll do it for me. I got the spinning wheel of death. Probably gonna lose the video. No. Okay, so there. Okay, so now it's in the upper left quadrant. So it should be taking 360 minus whatever the angle is, or 360 plus the angle, but the angle's negative. So that looks right. 285.7. I believe so. Okay. Let's go. Let's try to get in a different quadrant. Okay, now I'm in a bottom right quadrant. So it should be I should have a negative angle, which I do, and it should be taking 180 technically plus that, or subtracting it, 103. So it looks good. I think it looks good. Okay. Now again, remember up here, if I did this, if B18 was less than 0.01, then I wanted to print none. Okay. So I'm going to copy that. So I want to print, if the resultant is 0, I want it to print none in the resultant and in the angle. So I'm going to come down here, copy this in. If B18 is less than 0.01, print none. Technically, if it's not, then I don't want it to print the resultant. I want it to print the angle. So I'll do it that way. Okay. Whoops. Okay, and then I can come up here and do equals that angle. All right, Okay. I hope it's all right. Let's go ahead and delete out some of these vectors and go back and do that thing again where we have just 3 vectors and there's no resultant. Let's see if it works. So no resultant, no resultant, so it prints none and none. Okay. All right. Let's just play around with 3 vectors. So there is apparently my magnitude is 10 units at 300 degrees from north, and that looks all the way around, looks about right. So I think we got our if-and statement in there good. That'll be a challenge. It's hard to get that if-and statement in there correct. It's very, 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 very tricky. Okay.